Coming into this NFL season, I had given Sean Payton such a long leash that it was a lot more like an electric fence for a dog than it was any leash that we have seen before. But this latest round of tryouts that we have done to add a player to our practice squad really shows that the way Sean built this team, he might be regretting a decision that he made. We're going to break that down. I also have some stats that show what the Denver Broncos need to improve against the Steelers on Sunday. And I had every parent's worst nightmare, and I need some parental advice, and we'll end the show with that. But without further ado, let's dive in. I'm Ben, diehard Denver Broncos fan. Helps me out a lot if you like the Broncos and haven't stopped believing. If you would like and subscribe. So taking a look here, we know that Sean Payton has a type. Right? He bragged about his type when it comes to the receiver to Kay Adams. Kay Adams did a YouTube short where she was fastballing him a bunch of questions and just had him answer yes or no. And she said, tall receivers are better than fast receivers, and he said true. He actually said yes, chef, because they did it like the bear thematically wise. I'll link to it in this description of this video here. But we have a bunch of receivers who are all basically the same dude. You got Vele, Cortland Sutton, Marlon Humphreys, and then when we had Tim Patrick, like they all look the exact same. And if you look at dynamic offenses in the NFL, they seem to be like sprinkling in different types of receivers and those who can thrive in yards after the catch and those who are great possession receivers and your big body receiver who you know is going to be open on a long vertical route or something like that. And Sean Payton has gone all in on this big receiver, and by doing so, we just saw that didn't work, as the Denver Broncos receivers were probably the biggest problem in our inability to move the ball. That and our running game just was never able to get any momentum whatsoever, which I think is a lot more due to the fact that Sean Payton took Audric Estime out. Sean Payton tries to fuse this old school and new school philosophy, and I think he does a good job threading that needle typically. But because Audric Estime was the only running back who was actually moving the ball, a gorgeous run, and he made a boneheaded move and tried to hurdle a safety and fumbled the ball. And Sean Payton is really old school, and if a rookie fumbles, he takes him out. Like that's a Bill Parcellian move right there. I think that ended up being a mistake, and hope it's not one that he continues into the future. But how is he going to remedy this whole notion that he has built an entire roster of big-bodied guys who don't thrive in yards after the catch? And we see this on Sunday with the fact that Cortland Sutton was targeted 12 times in the game, and yet you don't see him anywhere in the top 10 with regards to actual production there. And he had a drop there. And then we saw him when he did catch the ball in space, he caught the ball going to the ground when he didn't necessarily need to, and could have caught an edge there, caught a corner, and turned that into a touchdown. Instead, it ended up just being a pretty typical first down. So to kind of remedy this situation, it might be too late in my mind. Like, you're not going to probably find a diamond in the rough here who is going to be a Brandon Ayuk type, a Deebo Samuel type, the type of player who can thrive in yards after the catch, which is really what we need if we are going to be dinking and dunking the ball down the field all the way, is that you need a couple of those big body possession receivers, but then you need a guy who you can get the ball with a 2-yard throw who turns it into a 7-yard gain. And the Broncos seem to really be lacking that. And so your big hope, I guess, for the Broncos is that Marvin Mims can be that and Troy Franklin can be that. Troy Franklin wasn't even dressed for this game. He's rocking a tracksuit up in a box and not dressed for this game. He was that guy in college. Can he be that guy for us? Or could we use Marvin Mims in the same way that Xavier Worthy was used for the Chiefs? But if you look at these successful offenses, you got a Puka Nacua, and then you got a Cooper Kupp. And you look at the best Broncos offenses, you had a Demaryius Thomas who could take the top off, and then you had a Eric Decker, and you look at Randy Moss's, like a Randy Moss when he played with the Patriots, and then a Wes Welker. And so you need different receivers who can specialize in something. And I think that's what the Broncos were trying to do here. And so even just this week, I think Sean saw that it was a big problem. And so we hosted a bunch of wide receivers to do tryouts with us. And we ended up settling on wide receiver Kaden Davis, who has bounced around the league several times, and I think he really does show flashes, and I want to temper expectations, because I do think at this point in the year, if you haven't made a roster, your ability to like jump into the fray and pop off, that's going to be really hard. But you just hope Sean Payton knows that we got to find somebody who can make some yards after the catch. And if you look at some of his reps in preseason, here's him playing for the Lions, and you see that he's not necessarily small, but you see, again, against a really good Chiefs defense. Obviously, the big caveat there is the preseason, but you do see his ability to do exactly what we need, which is like take a gain and make it a big gain. And I think what we saw even just this week was that the Denver Broncos, Bo Nix's numbers were not nearly as bad as we probably thought when we were initially watching it. So this is a advanced analytic that actually gives you an adjusted EPA based on the offensive line play, drops by key receivers, and then drops by cornerbacks to try to give you a better thing than just passer rating, because if you had drops or you were constantly under pressure. And so it is encouraging to see that Bo Nix had one of the biggest bumps there. I think he had the second biggest bump. The first biggest bump was to Will Levis, and then he was the second person whose game was a lot better than it actually seemed. And seeing here that, man, if you're in a conversation with Lamar Jackson and Jared Goff, who they gave the bag to, that's a good thing. And just seeing that, like, he trounces, his numbers were already a lot better than Caleb Williams, and they're way better when you adjust it for how the line played and how the receivers bailed him out. All we heard all offseason long was about just all the talented pieces that Caleb Williams had around him, and that he was going to set this league on storm because no rookie had ever been given that plethora of riches. And so maybe Sean Payton isn't that off, because you surround Caleb Williams with tons of talent and he still doesn't get it done. And so really it could just be the learning curve. I'm hoping to see a lot more innovative play calls out of Sean Payton on Sunday. We're waiting to hear from him. He's going to speak after practice here very, very shortly. Eager to hear what's up with Garrett Bowles. Other thing, really, really good piece of news here that came out was they rated defensive line based on pressures, and it's incredible to see a guy going into his contract here who I've been shouting his praises since I started this channel. Never should have fallen to us where he did in the draft. It shows George Payton's ability to evaluate talent, and that is Jonathan Cooper, who just felt like he was in the backfield the entire time. And he had 7 pressures and 2 sacks, and I think that it was the pressure of him that caused a holding penalty in the end zone, which was a safety. Just seemed to be living in the backfield, and the Denver Broncos were able to get him because of a heart condition, or he could have been a top pick in that draft, and George Payton was able to find him. So I would love to see the Denver Broncos use some of the same cap type flexibility we did to sign long-term deals with both Quinn Meinerz and with Patrick Surtain, and just triple this thing up, man, and give Cooper the bag to keep him, because I think he definitely popped. As we talk about this matchup this upcoming week against the Steelers, I think without a doubt the Denver Broncos have a better defense than the Atlanta Falcons. The Falcons needed defensive help, which is why they were all shocked when they went out and got Penix instead. And so I think the Broncos will be able to shut down the Steelers on defense. And the big question is, can Sean Payton figure out what went wrong on Sunday and why we weren't able to get the run going? Can we scheme a way to just run away from TJ Watt whenever possible and really neutralize him in the pass rush? And I think that we're going to find out what's up with Garrett Bowles. That would scare me a lot less if we do have Garrett Bowles for Sunday. Last thing that I thought was kind of cool here that I would not have guessed watching the game in real time, another advanced analytic that came out. They ranked quarterbacks based on their average time of throwing to the sticks, and it felt like several times as we were going 3 and out, you're like, come on, Bo, you got to throw past the first down. Your receivers aren't taking a 5-yard catch and turning it into 10. And so when it's 3rd and 8, you got to throw at least 8 yards. And it felt like several times he wasn't doing that. But when you look at it, he actually was the 7th best quarterback at throwing beyond the sticks. And just looking at 36% of his first down throws were beyond the first down, 26 on second down, and 60% of his third down throws were at the sticks or beyond. And so just seeing there were definite signs of life there for the Denver Broncos to improve upon, and Bo Nix was not to blame. Sean made that perfectly clear. This was not on Bo Nix. That's a hostile place to play against a coach we didn't have any film on. And the advanced analytics are all coming out that Bo Nix might be one of them ones. You know what I'm talking about there? All right, last thing here as we close up shop. Just had every parent's absolute worst nightmare, and I'm going to sleep on it tonight and figure out what to do based on what y'all let me know in the comments. I'm trying to raise my son right, make him a diehard Denver Broncos fan, and in his room, he always steals the stuff like that's supposed to be my backdrop, so I went to go get it, and I found this hidden like in his room, in his closet, like right by his hamper, and I don't know how to address it because I saw it and I like yelled and I was frustrated, and he doesn't know I found this. So what is the way to handle this? Just responsibly, to be a good dad, to guide him towards the light, and just, man, this is not it, man. Come on, Jay. I expect better of you. Either way, Bo Nix played a lot better than we thought upon initial watch. I'm trusting that Sean Payton is going to get some receivers who can get some yards after the catch. Our defense is way better than Atlanta, and the Steelers didn't score a touchdown and settled for tons of field goals. The Denver Broncos will beat the Steelers, and that's something we can all believe in. Oh, I'm back.